My name is Kenneth Lukagandason, your host. Today, my guest is the Deputy Lord Mayor of Kampala, Doreen Nyanjura. And our topic of discussion will be focusing on the current garbage crisis in Kampala, but also the confusion and conflict that has emerged over how the situation should be managed at City Hall. Well, we know that Kampala has been facing a challenge with the issue of managing garbage, and this worsened when the Kitezi calamity hit us, where we lost up to 35 people, according to the police report. Since then, garbage has been piling up in different parts of Kampala. The city authorities did launch a campaign, 10-day campaign to clear the garbage, but the situation almost remains challenging, looking at the heaps of garbage that is piling up in the different parts of the city. Well, there was a long-term plan of procuring land where a new dump site would be located. From the Lord Mayor's office, we learned that the process of acquiring this land now has a challenge. Now, yesterday, there was even a bigger challenge at City Hall when there were clashes between the councillors and officers from the office of the Lord Mayor, who are known as SEC, that is the City Executive Committee, over the same issues of managing garbage and procuring of the said land. So today we'll be looking deeper into these issues to understand exactly how this matter is being treated at City Hall. Honorable Doreen Nyanjura, the last time we had an interface here, we were talking about the situation that had befallen us due to the Kitezi incident. And while on air here, you actually talked about the plan to acquire a new piece of land where the garbage would be. But not so long ago, also we saw you people launching a campaign to clear garbage that had piled up in the different parts of the city. But the situation remains the same. What is going on as far as handling of garbage is concerned in our city?
Well, thank you so much, Anderson, and good evening to all the listeners and the viewers of Radio 1. It's a pleasure for me to once again be here and talk indeed to the people of Uganda and to the people of Kampala specifically, and update them about what is going on in as far as garbage management in the city is concerned. A lot has happened since the last time I appeared here. I last appeared here when I was talking about how we are going to take our garbage to Nkumba. I think in that show even carried a copy of the Memorandum of Understanding. Unfortunately, that didn't succeed because we later on faced protests from the mayor of Entebbe, that is His Worship Fabrice
Rulinda.
Yes, and which is quite unfortunate, by the way, because we are all citizens of this country. What affects Kampala as the capital city affects the whole country. Kampala is Uganda summarized, if I have to put it that way. So we are not able to go there.
What he was actually saying that do not, extend your mismanagement to Entebbe. I had him on the show here. He said whatever was done was in the good of the citizens of Entebbe, because they are also facing.
But do you ever imagine if we are also to do the same? How many people from Entebbe come to Kampala and work from Kampala on a daily basis? Don't they throw their garbage in Kampala? So for me, that debate doesn't actually hold water. It does not make a lot of sense to me. And then, of course, we tried to go to Nansana municipality. You remember me also telling you about Menvu. And we also faced a lot of resistance from the mayor there. That is Her Worship, Regina Bakite. which is unfortunate. And of course, which also points out to another challenge that we have, because you have a minister in charge of Kampala and Metropolitan Affairs. We thought that she could use her powers, her mandate, that is a jurisdiction which is also under her leadership. So we've been moving all over trying to get our place, but finally we deposed our garbage in Katikolo. Of course, amid these challenges, Katikolo is in Mukono. Amid these challenges, amid some demands, sometimes the garbage trucks are stopped. It is still a challenge. But I always tell people that leadership is about looking for solutions, and overcoming such challenges.
Now,
so that is where we are, but we also have some private some concessionaires who we are told at a fee deposit their garbage in Entebbe, that place where the mayor was trying to block us from. The only difference is they pay a tipping fee, probably something which we are not able to do as our leaders at Kampala Capital City Authority. And we have not stopped at that. We have since written to the Prime Minister, clearly stating our stand, clearly narrating to her what we have done as the City Executive Committee. And one of the proposals that I would like to point out, Anderson, is that we had made a suggestion that the 4.1 billion, which is annually allocated for the management of Chitezi, we had suggested that that money should be used to resettle the people who were affected by the catastrophe at Chitezi, because we are entering a new financial year, and that money was in the budget. We also realized that people were tired. As any human being would really be tired, staying in those tents. The hygiene there was not the best. So that was our proposal. But we also proposed that since we have land in Mukono, Dundu, which is not very far from Chitezi, 36 acres could actually be carved off from the 135 acres of land that we have in Mukono, Dundu, to accommodate the people of Chitezi who are affected by this catastrophe. So we don't know how far the Prime Minister carried these proposals forward. We don't know whether they have ever been discussed in Cabinet. We also had an engagement with the Office of the Inspector General of Government. And it wasn't the first time we are meeting the officers from the IGG. This was like the third engagement. And we have always talked to them about issues of accountability. Because a lot of money is swindled. We know money is stolen in KCCA. And the first engagement that we had with them happened on 25th April 2022, where we presented loads of evidence, dossiers about the levels of corruption within the institution. By the time the IGG came then, she also was concerned because Kampala Capital City, for a very long time, is ranked is number one actually, in the category of local authorities, the most corrupt in the country. So then the IGG promised that she would put in place a special unit to specifically deal with issues of corruption at KCCA. So we had another engagement with the officers, the investigators from her office on 22nd August 2024, where we tabled our evidence still, where we submitted names of the officers we think should be held liable for the lives lost in Chitezi, where we also once again emphasized the misappropriation of the 4.1 billion. And after that engagement, we were told that a report was going to come out in a period of 1 week. Unfortunately, since 22nd August 2024, up to now, we have not yet seen any report coming out from the office of the IGG.
All right.
And we are concerned.
As you wait for all those details to emerge, at the moment, what are you really doing about the garbage, which is in different parts of Kampala? People are complaining about the garbage that is piling up, and most cases near markets become smelly. You're buying things, flies are here and there. It's becoming challengeful. How are you managing the situation?
You see, we play an oversight role, and we are hands off, eyes on. But because we are so concerned, just like you're concerned, Anderson, and so many Ugandans out there, that the situation is getting out of hand, we even had to go in the field. Yes, we have always been in the field since the Chitezi catastrophe, but this time round, the Lord Mayor led us and said, we want a clean city, and we are starting with a CBD. And he launched what he called a 10-day campaign to make sure we have no garbage in the central business area. And we pushed on with that campaign. I'm sure as Radio 1 you also covered what
we did cover
what
the launch of
doing.
that campaign at St. Kudembe Market.
But we have,
what's the scorecard?
We have I don't know what to even tell the listeners. I think Kampala is in a crisis, just like the whole country is in a crisis. So midway that campaign, we actually had challenges because Total, which gives us fuel, which serves as fuel as an institution, suspended their services because they were demanding the institution 2.1 billion. And for a number of days, that one also affected the campaign that we had launched.
Has that situation been resolved?
It has been resolved, but I'm not sure if the money has been paid yet. So these are some of the challenges. But like I've also told you, Katikolo also has its issues. Today you go and dump, tomorrow some councillors will make some noise, or we want you to first sponsor a council sitting so that we pass a council resolution. We need to sign a memorandum of understanding, which is unfortunate. And we have a minister in charge of Kampala and the Metropolitan Affairs. As the political head of Kampala, the Lord Mayor has done his part. He still continues to do that. But I think we need to lobby as a team.
But let me ask you, each time we discuss issues to do with Kampala, there comes a situation where you, the people who are managing the city, you, the political leaders elected, and the central government, the minister in charge of Kampala, and then the management at KCCA, you seem not to be coordinating well. When you sit in those offices where you were elected to be, do you really feel that you're doing anything for the people?
When I sit in the office, I am confident, because this can even be backed by evidence, that I'm doing a lot.
Where is the
for
output? Where is the output
of Kampala?
People would say, where is the output?
I am actually performing or working even overnight. I can tell you, just the other day before council, we left City Hall at midnight because we had to deliver. But the thing is, who is supposed to implement the decisions that we make? Who is supposed to make sure that yes, SEC has sat and this is what they have decided, therefore it has to be implemented? So this goes beyond us. Anderson, like you know, we are policy makers. I already said we are eyes on, hands off. So if I do my part and the technical team does not do its part, and we meet the IGG and we tell her there is a problem, and we think there are officers here who actually need to even step aside so that investigations take place, so that they are held liable, and that is not done.
Right.
When we write to the Prime Minister, narrating to her all the challenges, and then she sits on our report, on our letter to her, it's not discussed in cabinet, who is to blame? I was in Kosase. I tabled all the evidence. I moved with lots of documents. I led a team. So if they don't come out and do something, Are you going to say, no, Nyanjura, you're not doing anything, you're not working? Lukwago, you're not working? I think that would be unfair. And we are not really ready for those blanket accusations.
Right.
If the office of the IGG has done investigations, we need a report. Let them come and display the report and show the whole nation who exactly slept on their job.
All right. Let's go to the council sitting yesterday. You, as the leadership, the political leadership of the city, you were supposed to inform council, provide them a report on a number of issues, including the issue of managing garbage and purchase of land. But instead, we saw a fight and some statements made, including by you, that some people are still shocked about. What is going on? We thought, as a political leadership, the elected leaders, council, the councillors and the Lord Mayor are on one side, and then the technical side is also on the other side. What is going on?
Well, that is in the ideal situation, and that is what it is supposed to be, because you're not supposed to be each other's enemies. We all feed into one another as the executive, and then we have council, even the technical team to some level. So the events that happened yesterday are really regrettable. The events that happened yesterday are very unfortunate, and I condemn them in the strongest terms possible. However, there is a background to that. I don't know how often you cover our council sittings as Radio 1.
We do cover
I think for a very long time, councillors seem to have ganged against the city executive committee. If to take you back on the council sitting that happened on the 10th of September, I led a team of the city executive committee, read out a presentation and the letter which the Lord Mayor had written to the technical team. We actually had 4 letters written to the technical team asking them to produce a draft report, or a working document, you might call it, because that is how the institution works. Management brings a working document, a draft report, we discussed it in SEC, and then make recommendations, and those recommendations are discussed in council. So I gave that background, chronology of events, and the next that happened, councillors started insulting us, abusing us, blackmailing us, saying all sorts of things that I'm ashamed I can't say on this radio station. And we expected the speaker who presides over that council to reign over those councillors. Unfortunately, she also joined them in insulting us. We were never given an opportunity to respond to the baseless allegations made by the councillors. And then she banged the table and said they have adjourned council. There was no level of decorum, no civility, no respect at all. So it was so unfortunate. And it was resolved that we have council on that day. She adjourned to 2 p.m. But here I am, I've read to you a document, I've told you what has happened. It's not possible that management was going to give us a report on that day. We go through it and then come and submit to council at 2 p.m. on that very day. So we were left shocked.
The question is, have you been from time to time discussing issues of garbage collection? Because it seems this is what is at the center. Because I heard from the speaker explaining what had happened. She seems to suggest that you people who are in the executive seem not to respect council. They gave you an order to present a report. When you came to the house, their first ask was for you to actually apologize for not meeting the timelines, which is something that happens from time to time.
Really, this is very
it's common when a council or
this is very
makes
unfortunate.
a decision, you need to adhere to it.
If I was in that council, I have already narrated to you the kind of insults and how I was treated in the previous council. I would have expected an apology from the speaker who presides over that house, but she failed to do so. I would have expected an apology from the councillors who made baseless allegations and blackmail. So from not the other way around.
So from this kind of bickering.
But Anderson.
From this kind of bickering.
But Anderson, why should the city executive committee make an apology because management did not submit a draft report? You as a journalist and other journalists need to interrogate that why is council and the speaker, why are they turning their guns on people without the ball? Because why are they turning their guns?
You are the ones who are supposed to report to council.
Yes, but I have told you there is a process. And the speaker and these councillors have undergone induction several times, orientation, so they know who does what in that institution. So if management has not submitted a working document, there's no way you're going to walk to council and make a presentation. What usually happens if we find ourselves in such a situation, we discuss the way forward with decorum. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So we need to interest ourselves. Why is council and the speaker more interested in running after the city executive committee and the Lord Mayor?
You tell the listeners
and by the way,
what has been your analysis?
For me, I think people are campaigning for 2026. And this is not what is expected of us as leaders.
What do you mean campaigning for 2026?
People are expecting us to offer them services. People are expecting us to deal with the issue of garbage, like you have already told me.
I thought that's how you win an election.
It's a matter of concern, and I agree with you. But go in council, and you turn it into a theatre of melodrama theatre, where we come in council, councillors shout, abuse the Lord Mayor, bang tables, and then they leave. For me, this is the first time I am hearing the speaker telling people to apologize. We have councillors who do not attend council sittings. I've never heard her telling them to apologize. So for me, this is not by accident. I think it is by design. Because there was even a vote conducted on whether we should have the report about garbage management read in council yesterday or offer an apology. And the councillors instead opted for us giving them an apology. So their interest was not necessarily on looking at the issues of garbage. Their interest was in massaging their egos that we go and apologize. I think the people of Kampala deserve better.
Right, Spectrum on
and what happened today, since we are never given an opportunity to make, to present that report in council, like I have said, we had spent Monday morning, the entire day. We left City Hall at midnight working on the report to be presented in council on Tuesday, and we are not accorded that opportunity. These are some of the steps that we have taken. We have written to the Inspector General of Government, reminding her to put in place that special unit to investigate the corruption at KCCA.
All right.
Also reminding the office of the IGG to produce the report about the Chitezi catastrophe, which was supposed to come more than a month ago.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. My guest this evening is her worship, the Deputy Lord Mayor of Kampala, Doreen Nyanjura, and we are looking at the crisis of dealing with garbage in Kampala, but also the confusion that is emerging from City Hall on this particular situation. I can see comments, but keep them coming via that WhatsApp line 0703-090. When we return, we'll look at the concerns being raised by the Office of the Lord Mayor about the purchase of 16 billion land that is supposed to host the permanent dump site of garbage. But what exactly is going to be done on this piece of land? Is there a plan to put in place a sustainable way of managing solid waste in this country? But also look at the letter that has been written to the IGG. Why are the political leaders insisting on a unit to conduct investigations within KCCA? Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. We'll continue after this. Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90. Our topic of discussion, we are looking at the garbage crisis in Kampala. and the confusion that is emerging at City Hall as far as this matter is concerned. My guest this evening, Deputy Lord Mayor, Her Worship Doreen Nyanjura, and she has so far given us a smooth background about what has been happening, but it all points to a tough time and lack of a clear way forward on the part of the central government, who are the chief administrators of the city, the political leadership led by the Lord Mayor, and then the management led by the KCCA Executive Director. Now, very quickly, you are insisting on a unit at KCCA,
yes,
from the IGG to investigate some people in KCCA. Some people say there is no smoke without fire. What have you seen? Why are you insisting on an investigation at KCCA?
Well, like already stated, I quoted the reports by the Inspectorate of Government that have year in, year out ranked KCCA amongst the most corrupt local authorities in the country and third most corrupt entity in the country. So anyone who is concerned with issues of accountability would demand that a special unit be put in place to specifically look at the corruption within KCCA, because this is a report that came from the IGG. This is a report that was presented by the IGG herself in a meeting that we had with her on 15th April 2022. And actually the suggestion came from her because we gave her overwhelming evidence. I remember by then it had to do with the extortions that were happening in markets. Yes, we actually even wrote to police. We also had issues of inflated costs on the construction of roads. So we gave her loads of evidence, and she was shocked that there was actually evidence that was readily available. And therefore she pledged in 2022 that she was going to put in place a special unit to handle those issues. So that is why we are demanding for it. Because 2 years down the road, we get this catastrophe of Chitezi, which I have on several occasions told the listeners that catastrophe was man-made. That catastrophe has people that slept on the job.
Who are these kind of people? What were they supposed to do?
That catastrophe could have been avoided because we received warnings in 2015. Even a few days actually before this catastrophe happened, there was also another warning. So the people who are liable are known. And we presented all this evidence to the Inspectorate of Government. We have talked about the 4.1 billion, which allegedly was spent on managing Chitezi. And yet when we reached on the ground, we didn't find any excavators. We didn't find any work going on. This evidence was all submitted to the IGG. So, and we told the heads must roll. We actually, our request in that meeting was that let the officers who are directly responsible in managing garbage in the city first step aside to allow smooth investigations to take place. Unfortunately, the officers from the IGG were not very comfortable with that, and they promised that within 1 week after the meeting that we had with them on 22nd of August, they promised that the report was going to be produced so that we remove, so that we get from the public and, these accusations, blanket accusations, people thinking, maybe even us as political leaders didn't do our work, and yet we have evidence that we actually did everything possible to make sure that catastrophe is avoided.
All right.
We went to Kosase. We are also waiting for the feedback from Kosase because we also tabled evidence, tabled reports that we had submitted in council as the city executive committee, proposing the way forward in as far as garbage collection in the city is concerned. So we are requesting the IGG to produce the report, but also Kosase to fast track the investigations and make a final verdict or pronouncement over the matter as soon as possible.
All right. Now, we are faced with a crisis, and one of the problems that you have is where to actually dump the garbage.
Yes.
Cabinet, in its wisdom, decided that it will provide 16 billion shillings for the purchase of land. But I'm reading a statement here which was issued earlier today by the Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago, and I should quote him here. He says, "I hereby invoke the powers of the office of the Lord Mayor to direct that the process for acquisition of an alternative land for establishment of a waste management facility be forthwith halted until the City Executive Committee is furnished with a comprehensive progressive report for further management and council consideration." Now, in light of this kind of statement, people are going to say you are the one creating the crisis of garbage in Kampala. The government wants to buy land. You are halting the process. Why?
Well, I don't know why people would say that. Probably they would say that.
Because Cabinet has agreed 16 billion
probably they would
to buy
say
land.
That if no explanation is provided to them.
That's why I'm asking.
Yes,
why,
but I am here to provide
why?
An explanation. Yes, granted, you've talked about the 16 billion, after which we have actually, which is still with the Ministry of Finance. So there was a procurement process which was initiated at the procurement department at KCCA, and there were specifications in there where the land to be acquired was not supposed to be not less than 200 acres, landowners having a clear and absolute title. The land was supposed to be not without any challenges. The land should be allocated not more than 30 kilometers from the central business district. There should be at least a distance of 200 meters from the boundary of land to the residential areas, schools, hospitals, and other sensitive land uses. The land should not be located in environmentally sensitive areas. And of course, there are some roads which were left out, like Entebbe Road, Express Highway, Masaka, Jinja, MPG, Bombo, and the Jinja Express Highway. Also, the area was not supposed to be waterlogged, among other conditions that were given. And there was a roadmap which was given where the publication of notice of expression of interest was supposed to happen on the 28th August 2024. The closing date for receipt of expression of interest was Monday, 2nd September 2024, specifically at 10 a.m. There is evaluation of expression of interest, which was supposed to take place on Friday, 5th September 2024. And then on Monday, September 2024, 13th, a list displaying those shortlisted was supposed to be put up. Unfortunately, we don't know what happened. And of course, in the course of all that, the City Executive Committee was informed by the Executive Director, Madam Dorothy Chisaka, that they had put in place a land acquisition committee spearheaded by the Director of Physical Planning, Vincent Atenyi. And then the Minister also nominated the State Minister, Chofa Kabuye, also joined the said committee. But prior to that, we also have the City Minister that oversee these different directorates. And the issue of land specifically falls in the docket of the Honorable John Mary Sebufu. So unfortunately, these people have been left in the dark. We have not seen the list displayed, and we are wondering what exactly is going on. So for purposes of transparency and effectiveness, in as far as oversight is concerned, the Office of the Lord Mayor wrote to the Executive Director asking for a progress report about the procurement process. Unfortunately, as we talk, we have not received any progress report. The city minister we put there, the city minister who directly supervises this docket, was also left out. And Canary, you know us. And Anderson, you know us. When it comes to issues of accountability, we do not blink. We do not joke. And we are serious about this issue. It's not just a matter of an announcement being made and then everything is being done in darkness and we say, yes, we need land.
The question is,
without paying attention.
Those powers that the Lord Mayor is invoking, will they actually be listened to? Will he be listened to?
Why wouldn't he be listened to?
Well, you've narrated most of the things you've been talking about have just been ignored.
The Lord Mayor, we pray that he should be listened to, because any sensible leader should be concerned that the procurement processes seem not to be followed to this level.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. It's at that time when we get feedback from the listeners who have been listening to us to be able to understand just how much they understand the challenge that we have in Kampala, but the recommendation they will be having or questions for you to actually respond to. And I'll start with this listener, Brenda, who writes in and says, hello, Spectrum. Question 1, does KCCA take responsibility for the Kitezi calamity? Question 2, the areas suggested for dumping now in Entebbe or Mkono etc. have a quite a large population. How will this be managed so that Kitezi incident doesn't reoccur? That's a question coming in from Brenda. I'll suggest that you note those questions down and then I'll give you an opportunity to respond to them. Now let's take this comment that comes in from Frank AF, who writes in and says, the problem of Kitezi is largely political. We saw this coming, they saw it coming, but here we are looking for solutions of issues whose plans we know are there. Until politicking is stopped, which sadly can't, all this is going to remain accusations and counter accusations. That's a comment from AF there, who thinks this matter is more political. Then we have another comment. Good evening, Spectrum. Since Kitezi catastrophe, rubbish has been disposed of at Tula Kinyarwanda in Kawempe. This has brought a lot of flies and unbearable stench. The question to Madam Nyanjura is it KCCA that authorized garbage to be deposited there? And what can the residents do going forward? That's Moses, who is listening in from here in Kampala. Then we have another comment here. Good evening, Anderson. Thanks for hosting my sister Amoti on Spectrum. But for as long as the president bragged about how he tamed the opposition at City Hall, business will never be normal. The bickerings will go on endlessly, yet we, the city dwellers, need services. The City Hall will remain a theater of drama, and we are yet to see more brawls happening. That's a comment there coming in from Murungi George Nyakana, listening in from Kasangati town in Wakiso district. We have another comment. As long as political ego, as long as political egos take the day, noise will continue not to yield any results. The irony is the executive accuses council and the technical team. The technical team blames executive and council. Council blames executive and the technical. I'm honestly confused. The one constant who has seen and been in all these confusions is the Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago. That's a comment from Francois there, who is also listening to this show. Kanene Johnson, listening in from Sironko district, says we had a lot of complaints from the two mayors who always lamented blaming the technical team, as if they don't know their work as political team. I think we don't need mayors in the city since they always do nothing, but they are earning taxpayers' money. Councillors were right because these people come once during council, but you are always at the city hall. But you cannot instruct technical team to have a report ready. This is how those two people are confusing FDC as a way of showing their relevance with no work done for the people of Kampala. Well, this one has pushed the dagger deeper into FDC issues. We have another comment coming in from another listener here who says, if Kampala is in a crisis like she asserts, then why doesn't she resign? Why continue to claim leadership of a failed city? Blame games and blackmail will not help us. We need solutions. Lamentations will not help Ugandans. That's another comment there from another listener. Well, very quickly, let's respond to those comments before we take on more, because I can see many more comments are coming in.
Thank you so much, Anderson. And allow me, because I hear people saying, oh, the Lord Mayor this, the Lord Mayor that. Probably I just need to educate them. Thanks to Radio 1 for giving me this opportunity about the functions of the Lord Mayor, which are in Section 11 of the KCCA Act, to initiate strategies and programs for the development of the capital city. And this is what we do on a daily basis. We have come up with strategies, programs, tabled very comprehensive report about how solid waste management can be done in the capital city, and provided really very rich proposals that can transform this city into a modern city and not the modern village that it is currently. The Lord Mayor is supposed to address council, give the state of affairs of Kampala, and this we have done. This we have done year in, year out. I don't know if you have had an opportunity to read at the Lord Mayor's state address for Kampala, and the very rich, well-researched proposals that are in there. But this is our role. We are supposed to address.
So
eyes on, hands off.
So in a nutshell, you're doing your part.
Yes, present, support, and promote businesses and residents in the capital city. This is what the Lord Mayor does on a daily basis. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to know who is responsible for what, who is supposed to do what, and they are not doing their work.
All right.
And that is why I said these blanket accusations are not actually proper. Allow me respond to one of the listeners that talked about garbage being dumped in Tula, Chinyarwanda, Kawempe. I've taken note of this, and I'll definitely follow it up after this talk show. Well, someone is asking whether KCCA is responsible.
Whether you
there are individuals within KCCA that are responsible for the catastrophe. And like I have said, we tabled our evidence before the IGG when they came to have an interaction with us, where several whistleblowers also submitted their evidence. So we are waiting for this report. And that is why today we wrote to the IGG. So those that are liable for the loss of innocent lives should be brought to book.
All right, Peter Wamboga Mjiria in Mbale Rising, I said the most sustainable and efficient approach to garbage management is construction of solar-powered garbage incinerators in each division where garbage is generated, so that the challenge of haggling over acquiring land outside Kampala does not arise. But overall, KCCA as it is, a political institution needs to be abolished to be replaced by a more efficient, well-equipped with manpower and machinery equivalent to a ministry. Let elected mayors and councillors be left at the division.
I just want to ask that person a question. So is it the Lord Mayor that stopped the technical officers at KCCA from doing their work? Is it the Lord Mayor that is instructing some of our officers at KCCA to steal money? I actually do not understand what exactly they are talking about.
Okelo
so for me,
Patrick Bonyo,
that blame is far-fetched.
Okelo Patrick Bonyo listening in from Busega, we should adopt the modern way of garbage disposal where garbage is turned into fertilizers other than the current conventional way of dumping everything as it is. We should give contracts to one company for every division because this will help in evaluation of each company's performance. Well, that's his contribution there. We have another comment. Nyanjura and Lukwaga, vanguards of violence, anarchy. I'm happy that the council is serving them same meal. They shouldn't cry foul. That's a comment from Apollo there. Then we have another comment. The Kitezi case is just the perfect opportunity for councillors to reap the nation. The garbage management in cities, including Kampala, does not need politics and sentiments related. Most of the garbage, especially from fresh food, could be controlled by demanding farmers to clean food beforehand and pack ready for cooking. Matoke, potatoes, cassava peelings, vegetables like nakati come in as garbage in presentation. The volume of garbage could be reduced. With separation, we gain even more. Just lead and supervise. Deputy Lord Mayor and your team. That is a comment coming in from Martin there, who is also listening to us. We have more comments coming in. If the NRM government, somebody writes and says, if the NRM government doesn't stop interfering with KCCA operation, let's expect more danger ahead in Kampala and the surrounding areas. If the MPs remain in Kampala, couldn't that money be given to them to be used for buying land? That is Mawa Amaza Moyo, who is listening in. I think is in regard to the regional sittings of Parliament. We have another comment coming in. Good evening, Spectrum. Thank you for hosting the Deputy Lord Mayor. I want to reiterate, like in my earlier recommendation, that an alternative land be acquired to resettle all communities around Kitezi, and Kitezi itself exclusively used for garbage management. 2, when Kampala district came under the presidency, which is a political miscalculation, service delivery to the people of Kampala. 2, when Kampala district came under the presidency, which is a political miscalculation, it was supposed to be for service delivery to the people of Kampala. This is simply because both the central government and KCCA, until they sit and agree, we are still going to witness such confusion. That's Kamogo Fred listening in from Chira there. Well, those are some of the comments that are coming in, and I would like you to respond to them, Doreen Nyanjura, as we also draw towards the end of this discussion.
Thank you so much. Of course, the comments are quite many.
There are quite many. And some are mere comments, others are questions, so you can choose how to respond.
Well, what I would like to emphasize to the listeners is that we do not lack proposals of how to manage waste, or how to turn waste into to turn waste into something productive.
Since this crisis of Kitezi, have some people stepped forward to actually offer solutions? Has there been any form of commitment on government on how garbage will be handled in future?
I think that was my concern even as we started this program, because there was a meeting by the Prime Minister. That meeting was followed by a letter from the office of the Lord Mayor. There was also another meeting chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Kadaga. Unfortunately, we don't seem to see much coming from there, because the people of Kitezi, those that suffered the unfortunate calamity, those that survived death, are still in the tents, and there's been no clear plan for them, much as our submission to the Prime Minister was quite clear on what sort of resettlement plan can be done. So there's laxity, and we don't know why it is like that. And someone here said that KCCA is under the office of the President. Unfortunately, this issue of Kitezi, in my view, has not been given the priority it deserves. And we have leaders who have not even found it necessary. They reside in Kampala, they reside in Wachiso, to even go to Kitezi and try to understand what exactly is happening. So there is laxity from the central government, and we hope they do better. But as for the proposals, how to turn this into manure, how to have a recycling plant, the composition of the garbage collected, electricity, all these proposals have been made in council. I actually read a very comprehensive report in 2021. So that is not what we lack. What we lack is the shortage of funds and the lack of will from central government to support such innovations, which is quite absurd, by the way. Which is quite absurd. When we talk about recycling plants, in Uganda they are there, but at a very small level, and it's done by private companies. But as government, there's none that we can talk about in this era and age.
Another comment comes in from Peter Wamboka, who says, I didn't blame the Lord Mayor for he or the deputy, as how worship Nyanjura misperceives. I have in a proposal the long run, Uganda needs to remove capital city functions to move capital city functions to another site, like in Nakasongola. Luckily, Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago, rule of law supports removal of the capital administrative functions out of the city, so that like Dodoma, Abuja, and Lilongwe were established as a new capital in Tanzania, Nigeria, Malawi, etc., respectively. What will remain shall be the commercial city of Uganda. When you look forward, when you sit in City Hall planning
Yes.
long term, do you see in future that probably Kampala will grow much bigger, or we are likely to get a new city going forward?
Well, of course, if you look at all the statistics, they indicate that most populations will be moving in the city. So yes, and Kampala has been growing at a very high rate of, I think, over 4%. So we know these challenges. And in the State of the City address, this was one of the proposals that the Lord Mayor gave, having an administrative arm, just like as it used to be. Entebbe was known for something else and all that. But the listeners also know that we have new cities. You go to Fort Portal and ask, how much money are they given to run that city? Their budget is still for then, when they were still a municipality.
Right.
Look at Hoima. So I don't think that might be a solution under the current government of Mr. Museveni, because they do not provide these cities. They do not create these cities to provide services, to make sure that services are closer to the people. They create these cities just for political reasons, to create new constituencies, have new mayors, and that is it.
All right, your closing remarks as we come to the end of this show, Your Worship Nyanjura.
Well, thank you so much. My closing remarks is to call on the leaders of Kampala that let us join hands and demand that the office of the IGG provides a report. Let us also join hands and demand for accountability from the technical team. I've already told you about the processes that are currently moving on, which we have put on hold because there's no transparency. Can the councillors at City Hall join this fight instead of, blackmailing, insulting the Lord Mayor, well knowing that this is not the responsibility of the Lord Mayor, and that is what is expected of us as leaders of the capital city.
All right, with that, we come to the end of Spectrum. Thank you very much, Your Worship Doreen Nyanjura, for making time to update the country on the situation of garbage management in the city. We'll try to reach out to the management of KCCA to hear their part, because they have a bigger role to play, just like you, in administration of our capital city. Now, from me and the guests in studio, it's a good night.